All right, let's just get right into it. Right now, it feels like every single marketing team is completely obsessed with one question. How do we rank an AI search? It's dominating every conversation. But what if that's fundamentally the wrong question to be asking? See, the problem with that question is that it assumes your most important relationship is with an algorithm. And it's just not. This game isn't about trying to win over a machine. It's about winning over the person who's about to ask that machine a question about you.
The real focus has to be on the human, right? Their context, what they're actually trying to do. Most of the AI optimization advice out there is built for a total stranger discovering you for the very first time. But here's the thing, that's not where the most important decisions are actually made.
To really get this, we have to look at what I call the deciding moment. It's not about that first point of discovery. No, it's about the moment of verification. And that starts way before anyone ever types a query into an AI. And here's the number from Gartner that changes the entire game. A whopping 77% of B2B purchases start with a network recommendation. Think about what that means. A colleague says your name, a peer forwards your website. That recommendation lands before the research even begins. That's the real starting pistol.
So let's put these two moments side by side, because they could not be more different. The discovery moment, that's a stranger with low intent asking a super generic question like, what are the best tools for X? But the verification moment, that's a completely different animal. This is someone who has already heard your name. Their intent is sky high, and they're there to validate what they've been told with specific, critical questions.
So in that high-stakes verification moment, the AI's response is going to do one of two things. It's either going to provide confirmation, which reinforces the recommendation, or it's going to create friction, which introduces doubt. There's really no middle ground here.
Confirmation feels like clarity. The AI serves up specific case studies, a confident point of view that perfectly matches what the buyer heard. The deal moves forward. Friction, on the other hand, feels like vagueness. The AI gives a generic, bland answer that could apply to anyone. The buyer gets uncertain, that recommendation suddenly feels a little weak, and the deal just stalls out.
So how does this actually work? It comes down to something called semantic similarity. The key thing to understand is that the AI isn't just inventing answers. It's basically a mirror reflecting you. Research from SEMrush shows there's a really high correlation here. So, put simply, your framing becomes the AI's framing. Your clarity, or your lack of it, is exactly what gets repeated back to your potential customer.
Okay, so how do you find out if you're creating that confirmation or if you're creating friction? Well, you need to run a verification audit. And I'm not talking about old-school keyword research. I'm talking about asking AI the exact same questions your potential customers are asking right after they've heard your name.
The audit is pretty simple. It's 3 rounds. First, you ask some basic identity prompts. What is my brand known for? Then you move to comparison prompts. My brand versus my competitor. And finally, you get to the most important questions of all, the referral prompts.
This right here is the prompt that converts. This is the moment of truth. When a motivated buyer asks this question, does the AI's answer make them more confident in that recommendation, or does it introduce doubt? The answer to that single question reveals your entire content strategy.
So the audit moves you right from diagnosis to solution. Once you see the gaps between the story you want AI to tell and the one it actually tells, your job becomes pretty simple. Create the content that closes those narrative gaps.
And listen, this is not about volume. It's about specificity. This is what we call verification layer content. We're talking detailed case studies with real numbers, opinionated pieces with a strong point of view, in-depth explanations of your process, and being really honest about who you're for and who you're not for. This is the kind of content that actually builds trust.
And this brings us to the core takeaway here. We've been looking at this all wrong. This is not about learning a new set of SEO tricks. Optimizing for that verification moment isn't an AI strategy at all. It's a brand strategy. And in today's world, those two things have become exactly the same.
So I'll leave you with this one question to guide your work. Forget what the algorithm wants for a minute. Instead, just ask yourself this. What does the person who just heard my name need to find to feel confident in that recommendation? Answer that and you'll have your strategy.